Oh, ha, there we go. Hey, how are you guys? Get my coffee out of the way here. So the moon is still in Capricorn. It's approaching Pluto. So overnight we might have some interesting news. There could be some weather. We could see more shenanigans overseas or overnight in the United States. It's not doing a whole lot more. And well, it is. It's because Pluto, even though it's retrograde and the sun are now trined. So there could be some seismic or volcanic activity. I just looked at the chart. That would be maybe Europe or Asia. And so, remember, transits are global. They don't just happen where you live. They're happening all over the place. But I thought we'd talk a little bit about energy and talk a little bit about astrology because the energy is about to shift. Tomorrow, the sun moves into Gemini. And on transits, the sun has a lot to do with our day-to-day vitality because without the sun, we don't have life. And so when the sun ingresses or enters, ingress means to enter another sign, then that shifts things. That's why it's going to impact everybody differently depending on their own astrological chart. So if you've noticed, there are certain times of the year that you just do better, and it's not always the weather. It could be if you moved across the country, you might still have the same kind of experiences. So like for me, Aries season is a mixed bag. Okay. Just because of what the sun and sometimes Mercury, because Mercury is always only 28 degrees away from the sun. Okay. And remember, degrees are directional. They have nothing to do with divination. Nothing. Okay. There is a lot of superstition that is being passed off as astrology that has nothing to do with actual real astrology. Okay. There's a lot of superstition, and that's what gives us a bad rap. That's what makes people think that, astrology isn't a real thing, is all of these ridiculous ideas, because people come from a background of having like Sky Daddy or Earth Mommy telling them what to do. Okay. We are all slices of creation. Okay. We are co-creators in this reality. And the sooner we realize that these things are reflective, except the sun and the moon can have a little causality because all of this planet interacts and is you could say affected by the sun and the moon, but they're not making things happen. You have agency. You have agency. You could go, okay, I know I'm a little more low energy during this time of year. I'm going to plan accordingly. Okay. You can make a decision to work with, it's like that movie, work with the grain. Okay. Work with the energy. It's not like you have to only have things go one way. There are lots of possibilities, lots of potentialities when it comes to working with energy, looking at the transits. You're not always like, oh, it sucks. When I give you guys a heads up and it's volatile, like I've been giving, because this summer it's a volatile summer. Does that mean it's going to suck? Depends on who you are. It depends on the decisions you make. There's so many, it depends on your chart. It depends on your soul agreements. It depends. I can't give a blanket statement of this is going to suck for everybody, because it's not. If you ever read The Tale of Two Cities, it was the best of times and it was the worst of times, depended on who you were. And so I always give this example to my students. Go to an airport, go to a train station, go to a bus depot, and just sit and observe people. You'll notice somebody's having the best day of their life. Somebody's having a reunion. Somebody's falling in love. Somebody's falling out of love. Somebody's having the worst day of their life. Everybody on that same day is having a different experience, right? And our perceptions are what create our reality. So knowing that is important when you're doing any kind of energy work, any kind of witchcraft, any kind of spell work, any kind of intentional work. I don't care who it is, okay, or what you're doing. Astrology, numerology, tarot. Understand that your perception influences the outcome. Okay, as do the questions you ask. Okay. Oh my God, thank you. The Ugly Duckling was one of my very favorite stories when I was a little girl, so thank you. I have a lot of favorite stories though, because I'm a Libra moon with a Gemini Venus, so I don't like to pick and choose. I have favorites for all occasions. But anyway, okay, I'm gonna take a brief respite, check my nails. I just got my nails done. Can you see these? Are they not cool? There we go. Those are my nails. But anyway, I Libra moon, had to show them off. But anyway, so, oh, thank you. I so appreciate that. But so I'm giving these caveats because I want you to understand when I give my prediction, that's the mass consciousness prediction. You as an individual have a lot of wiggle room, okay? I give a heads up so you're not surprised. You know, people be like, oh my God, you're fear mongering. No, if I want to scare you, I could scare you, okay? I really could. I'm a Scorpio rising. If I want to freak people out, I'm good at it. I read a lot of Alfred Hitchcock and Edgar Allan Poe as a kid, so trust me, I could freak you out. I'm not going to. I don't want to. I'm giving you a heads up. I don't like surprises. That's why I became a nosy astrologer all those years ago, because I don't like surprises. Does it mean we always get it right? Of course not. Nobody's going to be 100% accurate. But I can tell you there's some real volatility, but you don't really have to be an astrologer looking and poring over charts to recognize that. Everybody keeps thinking, oh, it's going to go back to normal. Everybody's acting like when I go out, and I don't go out much, I stay mostly home, okay? Because I don't want to get sick. I make my money with this. And COVID impacts, in a lot of cases, some cognitive functioning. I don't want to impact this. This is my bread and butter. So I don't go out much. I will be going out this weekend. I will be wearing my mask, and but it's a cool event, and it was a very good networking opportunity. But that will probably be the last time I go out for quite some time, right? So when is COVID going away? I don't know that COVID will go away all the way. I'm hoping it evolves into something less awful. It's been managed so poorly by the governments of this world, and there's been so many economic decisions made over people that it's a concern. I would follow Laughter and Light and Snack Packs. They're both very good scientists that know what they're talking about with the science. But I don't see we're going to see consequences from it. We might see some moves to mitigate harder next year, but I don't see it going away in 2023. I don't see it going away in 2024. Maybe 2025 we have some things in better shape. I think we'll be used to it so much that we won't be thinking about it. People really need to wear their masks. It's really, really important. I've been saying this all along. I gave my predictions at the end of last year. And I just had somebody arguing with me going, well, the science says it's over in 2023. And I'm like, I don't know that the science actually does say that. I follow scientists too, because I like to see what they're saying and compare to my predictions. I don't know that that's what they are saying. I have not heard a firm end date. In fact, from the scientists I follow, they're saying it's pretty much here to stay. We kind of screwed the pooch on that one, and we need to be cautious. Now, I do think, and what I do think we'll see is some hang on a second, Malcolm Reynolds. That is an outside bark. Let's have an inside bark. Okay. Sorry, he's defending the casa. Hang on. Come on. Up. I know. You're telling him. At least give me some help. Okay. Oh, big boy. All right. Here's the Malcolm. He's going to come sit with me so he's not barking. He's just helping the mama out. So, COVID, you need to wear masks. Okay. Hey, Malcolm, that's enough. Thanks. I can hear them too. It's okay. They're not hurting anybody. They're playing and having fun outside. Okay, be good. So anyway, wear your mask. And you want to wash your hands really, really well. Hand sanitizer is okay, but you always want to scrub with soap and water when you can. It actually does a better job, and it does a better job of not creating super viruses and bugs. And that is the advice I had from a doctor when I lived in developing countries. Okay, so I've done many travels, and people need to stop being shocked, and they need to innovate. I've been saying this for several years now, that you need to innovate how you live your life. I'm not telling you to be afraid. Be cautious. Caution is not fear. Somebody else commented on my video like, well, how could we, that's just living in fear. I'm like, no, it's called not being a dumbass. Okay. If you see a burning building, don't run into it. Okay. So if you know that, let's say cases are up in your area, well, you can run around going, not me, it's not going to get me. I've got my aura set. That's stupid. Okay? Use your noggins, use your brains. Even if you're spiritual, this is one of the biggest beefs I have with the New Age community. Okay? Because I'm a metaphysician. I have studied energy and the cosmos and the human condition and spirituality my entire life. And the one thing is we're here to spiritualize matter. Okay? We're not here to get off the planet. We came here for a reason. Being ridiculous is not part of that. Okay? We have these things called brains, and we're meant to use them. We evolve our understanding. This reductionist pull us all back into the past thought form that is so active right now, whether it's politicians looking back at the Constitution or pre-Constitution, or people with these superstitious beliefs. This is ridiculous. We move forward, not backwards. So let's use our minds, okay? That's why I train people how to discover what is true for them. I don't have to agree, but I have a process. We don't have to agree. I don't look for like-minded people. I look for like-hearted people. You and I might not believe in the same economic policy. We might not even interpret something exactly the same way. We will have our own unique perceptions. That's fine. And it's important that you know why you believe what you believe, why you think the way you think, instead of just doing it de facto because mom and dad said that, or this is what you were taught in school and you never thought or questioned for yourself. That's not faith. Okay? You can question and have faith. In fact, I'll argue that some of the greatest people I've known who've had the greatest amount of faith were always questioning, because you can't question either an entity or an egregore or a deity or a thought or a thesis if you don't have some kind of belief. You wouldn't question at all. You'd just be like, there's nothing there. There's no reason to argue with it, right? And so, or you just goosed up, because just blind faith isn't thinking either. It's not really faith. It's just being like an automaton or a robot. And that's what I'm trying to help you guys prevent. There's so much getting ready to happen, okay? I've described 2020 was like the great detonation of the foundations that were faulty. Okay, that's how I've described 2020 with all the action there. People act, including other astrologers, like that energy was just then. But it was like a gong that rang energy out into the future. Okay, that energy lasts for quite some time. We hadn't seen that exact kind of energy and actually ever in the human condition, because Pluto wasn't discovered until 1930. So it wasn't just in the subconscious, it was in the super subconscious. So that was the first time we saw it, but we didn't see that kind of configuration of energy in 3,500 years. So that rings out, a whole new cycle begins. So now we've got this Jenga tower and it's wobbly, okay? Each one of us influences what happens, okay? There is change. We're living through change, okay? That's why all this weird crap keeps popping up and it's like, oh my God, what's next, right? But it doesn't mean you don't have influence, okay, over how you manage your part in that change. You don't have to fix the big stuff. You don't have, if none of us are big enough on our own to fix the big problems. We can work within ourselves, look at where we contribute on our individual basis, and we can work to heal, right? And we can group together with like-hearted people. That's better than like-minded. Groupthink is a scary thing. Groupthink is a scary thing. And one of the things that's beginning to worry me is I see a lot of young people kind of invoking like Robespierre. Robespierre was not a champion of the people, okay? There were a lot of regular people that got very hurt because neighbors turned on neighbors. People were being accusatory to one another. If you actually study the history of the French Revolution, it is not something you want to see a repeat of. It was really terrifying. It wasn't just the elites, because people who had the actual money, other than like the king and queen, there were people who got the hell out. They made it to the New World. They made it to Britain. They made it all kinds of other places, okay? Right? We don't want to invoke that kind of energy because it's going to impact you on a really personal level. There are things we really want to avoid in the realm of possibility. I'm very serious about that. That's why it's important to train. Am I going to be reactive or am I going to be responsive? Okay. Am I going to be reactive or am I going to be responsive? And so reaction is just you get a feeling and you act on it. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that we're moving into a season where it might be very reactive. And that is because we've got the sun moving into Gemini, so it's much quicker energy. It's also lighter energy, so that's nice. And we have Mars moving into Aries coming up on the 24th. That's just a couple of days away. We will all feel that energy viscerally. And think about how people are already up a little bit. We're all kind of tense. It's been a long couple of years, right? Each year has felt like 5 years all on their own, right? Am I right? Am I right? Because it felt that way to me. And my job is looking at time, right? It's been intense for everybody. So recognizing that, and there's going to be political shenanigans coming up. So there's probably going to be an event on the 24th that really riles people up, and the moon and Mars will be conjunct, and it's going to be fiery, and they are within 2 degrees of Jupiter. In fact, the moon will conjunct Jupiter like 4 hours after it's conjunct Mars. So we can really expect some really interesting news. Now, here's the deal. And this is my caution to you. If whatever is on the news is not right where you live or impacting your community directly, take a step back. Don't own it, okay? Support the people who need support. Have empathy, have compassion, but don't take it on for you if it wasn't happening to you, okay? Because the people who need the support, who are actually impacted by it, need your support. And if you take yourself down emotionally, you're not there for the people who do need your support. So yeah. I see a question. Hang on a second. I'm not talking about the summer just yet. I'm talking about what's going to happen next week. And if you want to know what's going to happen in the summer, pay attention to next week. What's going on in the stock market right now? Now, I'm going to say this is going to be harder on billionaires than it is going to be on average people. Remember, you guys have the cash. They don't have cash. They have, most very wealthy people do not have liquid assets. Their assets are tied up. Okay, so they have stocks, they have that, now they borrow against those. The thing that made me the most nervous was an article that the Fed is holding on to about $2 trillion worth of mortgages. The Fed. So it's not in banks, it's in the Fed. The Federal Reserve, which is not, it's kind of a semi-private thing. So that's a concern. Our market should have crashed like hell in 2001, and it didn't. Okay. And so there's been this weird fiscal policy all the way along. And if you're new here and you haven't heard me talk before I became, my name's Lori Rivers, and before I became an astrologer, I was a political analyst. And it's funny, back in the 90s, as a young political analyst, with all the boomers telling me, well, you got to pay your dues, whatever. I was like, hey, a lot of these things like global supply chain and centralized supply chains are really dumb because it only takes one natural disaster to throw off the supply chain. We probably want to keep things regional. We probably don't want multinational corporations gaining so much power because at some point it'll interfere with the sovereignty of nations. What's occurred? Oh my God. Actually, I wrote that as a thesis in college, and they said, oh, that's crazy. Yeah, they can kiss my crazy patootsy. So as an astrologer, I see this play out as well. And so just you want to be prudent. Okay, you want to be prudent with what you've got. You want to, I've been telling people, grow food, grow little bits, even if it's just growing some cucumbers or some lettuce. Or obviously wheat products are hard to come up with on our own because even if you had wheat, taking it to make it into, you might be able to get a little handful of flour, right? So there's something. So I've been telling people buy your wheat products if wheat is important in your diet or it's favorites like pasta, things like that. Have extra on hand, and get used to eating less carbs as well because those prices are probably going to shoot through the roof. Just because we've got the Ukraine situation, India has stopped exports. None of this is a surprise. And I did predict bad harvests in the United States. Okay. Cause hello, we have climate change on top of everything else. So we have all these politicians sticking around, which is just mind numbingly, I won't even get started on it because I can get on that soapbox and you're never going to get me off. So we'll bring it back to the astrology. So this summer, you're going to just don't be surprised if we see some really irregular behavior. So yeah. Right. Well, community gardens are good as well. You have to be careful in certain areas as well because there's droughts. So you want to make sure you're also maintaining and managing well as well. So, and you can grow stuff in an apartment. You can, my parents were in Mongolia and it was hard to get fresh vegetables at the time when they were there. They were in the Peace Corps as older adults. They were in their 50s, but I come from a strange family. But anyway, so they were there and my mom needed more vegetables in her diet because she doesn't do well without them. And my dad, in this sub-zero temperature, managed to hook a light bulb onto a window box and grew her some carrots and some other root vegetables that she could eat to improve her diet because she was getting, she wasn't feeling well because of the diet. And so it can be done. You just have to MacGyver it sometimes. One of the things that has been eroded through public education over the last 30 years is innovation. You've been taught that there's only one answer. There's always more than one answer. You've been taught to pass the test, but not to think outside of the box, or even think what box. It's important to innovate and be creative. And that was all discouraged in the last 30 years. And so, I get a lot of young people asking me questions that are easily Googleable. But because you were trained to only get the right answer, you're afraid of getting the wrong answer. And so you'll stop. And so I'm going to urge you to be creative and experiment. That's something that's going to get you through. You want to have some faith in something. I don't care if it's a flying spaghetti monster, and you want to innovate. And you want to experiment. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. There are tons of people offering gardening information for all climates. If you just look up the hashtag gardening here or on YouTube, there's been lots of people trying to support this. Yeah. If you're in a really hot climate, you're going to want to, like, I'm in Southern California, so it's very dry here. I'm still learning how to garden in this climate because most of my gardening's been done in the Pacific Northwest, where I had a much shorter growing season and it was also colder. So I would do like potatoes inside. There's things called grow bags, and they're really cool and they work really well, and you can get any size. But if you want to bring some things, and you want to have things in the shade, even if it says full sun, they get burned. Like my nasturtiums got burned, so I had to move those. Tomatoes are great. Tomatillos are great. Chili peppers are great. Oric, which is a leafy vegetable, but you'll want to grow any lettuce, etc. inside. They have little kits that you can grow leafy greens inside as well, if that's something you're more comfortable with. But yeah, if you're in a really hot climate, like when I lived in Arizona as well, I did any little gardening I did inside. I didn't do it outside. It was too hot, and it's an arid climate. It's something you want to conserve your water. So like I wash my dishes. What does this have to do with astrology, by the way? Everything. Because the astrology shows climate change. Like I think, like between all the political issues we're seeing and it's going to continue to foment, climate change is going to force our hand more than anything else to make the changes. And people are going to have to really push for that. But like I wash my dishes and collect the water in a tub, and then I use that tub. I use the gray water to water my plants. That's important to do, guys. Because again, Southern California is also in a drought. So I'm trying to minimize the use of potable water for things like gardening or, what have you. So yeah. Extension offices. Yeah, those are all great. Yeah, extension offices are great. Every county has an extension office. So those are wonderful resources. Yeah, climate change is going to force us to innovate. And it's unfortunate that we've got politicians dicking around. So you really, like, that's why we opened up our Discord and we have voting resources. We didn't make the calls. We didn't do that. We just found organizations that already exist that you can go look up how to register to vote in your area, what the issues are, all of that. Why? Because the astrology is showing that people need to take action. If the people want to hold the authority, if the people want to hold authority, they have to take action. Is that a Dwabit? Hey Dwabit, how you feeling? Yeah, so all of these things I talk about are related to the astrology. I could sit here and be like one of those new age gurus and go, all right, we're going to center ourselves now, and we're going to close our eyes, and we're going to invoke the power of the moon to make this work for us. I'm not going to do that. That's bullshit. The energy is there, but how do you use it? You use it practically. Okay, you don't just sit there and hope something happens. Okay, even the manifesting, you write it down. You can burn all the candles you want. If you don't get your ass into gear, shit does not happen. Like even just being receptive takes an action. It means stop thinking it won't happen. It means pick up the phone and call someone. Or if you get an impulse to message someone, message them. I had that today. I have a person that's kind of well known in the world, and they had asked me a question, and I gave them the answer. And then I went about my business because I was like, well, I don't want to inundate them. They're busy and they're kind of famous, and I was like, I don't want to bother them. But then I got this really strong impulse, and I was like, you need to say this last thing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to say that last thing. I don't know why. I'll find out later. I can trust. Trust is an action. Love is an action. Those are all actions, right? They're not just states of being, right? It's an action as well. You can take care of yourself more. okay? You can look after your interests, which is important. You can look after your friends and neighbors. These are all things that we are up on deck as we move along. So tomorrow the sun ingresses into Gemini. It moves into Gemini. That will be, well, I'll be a little more chatty. There'll be a little bit lighter energy, but everybody always forgets that Gemini energy can be a little bit like Tinkerbell. It can be a little bit feisty. So it'll be very quick moving. And then Mars ingresses into Aries on the 24th. And the moon is going to be joining it. And that's a lot of energy. It is. It's just a lot of energy. I'm not lying. I'm like, oh, what's going to happen on that day? That's pretty big stuff. And so it'll be easy to lose your temper. It'll be easy to, and that goes for everybody, you know, even people who've had a lot of training on being mindful, you know, and stepping back. Because, you know, when we can take a step back, we have a much more range of motion than when we dive right in, right? So, yeah. Hang on a second. I'm talking about May. Mods, go ahead and take those questions about dates and times and planets that I'm talking about. So I'm not repeating myself. So, because I'm going to get this up on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, this is a TikTok live. So here's the deal. With Mars entering Aries, and it will be conjunct the moon, and it is then going to conjunct Jupiter on the 29th, except it's only 2 degrees away from Jupiter as it ingresses, and ingress means enter. So when a planet is moving towards another in astrology, it's usually a very intense kind of motion, just like when we have a magnet, right? So if you have one magnet here and the other magnet's coming close, notice how you feel that tug right about here before they do that. This is the conjunction, but that big energy, the brewing, happens there. And so it's going to be interesting. I think we'll probably see some excessive use of force. That won't surprise me, because it's not like authority figures have figured it out by now, right? That we've got people polarized, people digging in their heels. I think actually there might be some provocation by authority figures as well. The good news right now is, as Mars is going to be moving through Aries very, very quickly. This is not going to be an exact replay of 2020, which is great, because it lasted way too long in Aries. Because last time we had Mars in Aries, not only was it squaring Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, so it was squaring off with them, Mars retrograded. And it was remember, it was very long and it was very contentious. This time Mars is moving through. It's going direct. It's moving through, but it is conjuncting Jupiter. That's big booms, big energy, but it will not square off with Pluto, with Jupiter. So when Mars squares off with Pluto, it will just be Mars squaring off with Pluto, which will still be volatile, but it's Jupiter won't be in that mix. So phew. That's a relief as an astrologer to see that. Some of the other things you want to be mindful of on an individual level, this is a great time to take action and make your luck. That's why I'm teaching a workshop this Saturday, actually at 6 o'clock in the evening, Pacific time. I'm teaching the Make Your Luck workshop, where I teach you about the energy of Mars and Jupiter combined. It happens about every 2 years, and what to do when it's transiting your astrological chart. So how you can use that energy to make opportunity for yourself. So basically, like I was saying, you can't just sit around and wait for stuff. You have to take some kind of action. People who seem to be lucky actually are good at seeing opportunity and good at making things happen. They're not forcing, they're not pushing against, they're not resisting. They're good at feeling in and meeting people and then taking. So if we've got 5 of us sitting in a room and everybody hands each other's cards out, 4 people are going to go home and never pick up those business cards again. One person is going to call people. That's the person who will appear to be lucky, but they're the ones who made the calls, right? And so they may not know what comes out of making all those calls. They're like, hey, I met you at this event. Just checking in. How you doing? I really enjoyed meeting you. And the other person's like, oh yeah. And you get talking and you find out, oh, we could work together. And it might appear to be luck. It's not luck. You picked up the freaking phone. You took an action, right? It was aligned action, right? So you get clear with your Mercury. You line up with your desires, and then you take aligned action. It's boom, boom, boom. And that's how you get stuff done. So on an individual level, that's how we surf these cosmic waves, okay? So just because it looks like the world is doesn't mean you can't individually do well. And if you do well, you're in a better position to help other people, okay? That's something to remember. So many times people want to suffer with people, but suffering with people does not help them, okay? It really doesn't. It might be a temporary gratification, but if you can keep your base solid, then you're in a better position to lift somebody else up, okay? That's what my friends and I do for each other. We've had times where I was the one down and they helped me. I've been the one up. I've pulled them up. And we work together because nobody's always in the same space, right? We are dynamic creatures. So the energy is always working like this. And if you can hold yourself even, right, and you're responsive, then you can pull. If you're reactive, you just go bonk, okay? You lose steam. You stop. You don't help people. You can't help anybody. Now, you may be the one who needs help, and that would be asking for help, right? So, yeah. Right. Yeah. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going. It's wild and woolly. Mercury is still retrograde, as Dwabit pointed out. Big hugs to Dwabit. I know it's been a tough month for you, babe. It goes direct. Actually, it stations on the 2nd. It's in direct motion on the 3rd. June is a very bumpy month, and it's setting up the energy for July and August. Now, I talk about this in depth in my Year Ahead 2022 seminar. It's linked up in my bio because I gave all of these predictions back in December, okay? And then I fill it in over time. Like, so I gave the big picture and now I'm filling things in, right? And so, when I did my solar return for 2022, 2023, I don't know, sometime like in November, I tend to do it like just around the halfway mark, right? I noticed that there was some very interesting stuff going on. I actually looked at my solar return and went, what the hell is going to happen? You know, that was my first response. I was just like, what? Oh. So July, it'll be through mid-July. We'll start to feel this, you know, so we'll start noticing some interesting happenings. But, on July 31st, and my birthday is before that, but trust me, it'll be exciting leading up to the 31st as well. But on the 31st, we have Mars, we have the moon, actually not the moon, sorry, we have Mars, Uranus, and the node conjunct. And this is going to be some very interesting energy. We could see seismic energy. And don't ask me about earthquakes because I haven't even looked at where they're going to be. And I'm not 100%, you know, nobody can predict anything more than a general region because it's just like, if geologists can't do it, how the hell can an astrologer do it? Okay. I've gotten close on regions and I'm good with that. I can give general direction, but it can't be more. And I have family that lives I live on the West Coast. My kids live on the West Coast. You know, so I'm always looking for seismic activity, especially since Uranus is in Taurus, and it will be till 2026. So that's something we need to look at. It'll probably be also financial. It'll definitely be harvest, and it'll probably be weather. And I said you'd go from spring. You wouldn't really have much of a spring east of the Rockies, and it'd move straight into summer. That's starting to happen. It will continue to happen. So You're in Oregon. Hey. Okay, well, the Pacific Northwest needs to be aware for 2023 a little bit more than 2022. So I have my eye on that. So I grew up in Oregon. So, but yeah, over 100 degrees in Philly this weekend. That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, well, my brother's in Portland. My son is in Washington. I have extended family all through Oregon. So that's where my people are. So that's why I watch. So the Northwest will always get alerts from me if I see the potential of it. But what really actually bothers me, and I'm just going to say this once, and I'm not condemning anyone, but one of the things you have to realize, there's one of me. There's one of me. And I do a lot of predictions, and it concerns me when people are only concerned about their area. And I know that's a human thing, but these transits impact the entire world. There is not one person right now who goes unscathed by current events. I don't care where you live in the world. And so as much as I'm saying don't own other people's trauma, at the same time, be conscious and aware that it is not just happening to you. Everyone has had an inordinate amount of change go on in their lives. Everyone has had people, had relationships impacted one way or another, either through political discourse or because of illness, economics. Everyone has been impacted. And so it's really important that if I could teach one thing, it would be to take a step back. Take a step back. Okay? Take a deep breath and pause. And I know people are tired. I know you're tired of hearing it's not better yet. I know. I know you're tired. I've been that tired in my life. This is not the worst time of my life. I'm a little tired of all the rapid change, just like everybody else is, but it's not the worst time of my life. I had 30 years of suckage plus. So this is not even close. The last 3 years are not even close to the worst times of my life. Not even close. Don't even hold a candle to it. So I understand how tired and how soul weary you can be. Okay. But you gotta understand you came here for this. Okay. And so if you allow the constant media spin to tug you under and pull you down, and I'm not blaming, it's not a blame, because we don't get trained how to not get sucked into it, right? Okay, so, but if we allow ourselves to get sucked down, it's like an undertow, we are not as impactful, and we are not as, we're not making the difference we came here to make. And each one of you is absolutely fucking precious. Okay? You have so much value, and you have so much more power than you know. But we've all been trained that power is violence, and it's not. In fact, only the weakest of people use violence to control. Strong people don't have to resort to that. Really strong people never have to do that. Only weak-minded cowards use physical violence to control. Now, at the same time, when that's coming at you, that's hard. And I am as a spiritual person, I am not the kind of spiritual person who says, go ahead, get hit again. I'm not. You know, we're physical beings having a physical experience, and we need to use our fight and flight mechanisms. That's what they're there for, but we need to use them with deliberation. And when we get paralyzed or overwhelmed by emotions, it renders us unable to make an impact. And everybody has an impact they can make. It could be through messaging. It could be through teaching. It could be through connecting. It could be through supporting. It could be boots on the ground. It could be making phone calls. It could be supporting the boots on the ground. And I'm going to say that again. It could be supporting the boots on the ground. I am giving you all kinds of hints about what this summer is going to be like. And I really hope you can read between the lines. I'll talk about it a little bit in more depth on my next podcast. But if you can support those boots on the ground, they're going to need it. Okay. The more I look at what's coming, the more I see that we need people who are very, very resilient and very, very responsive, and not everybody needs to do the same things. Okay. There's lots of organizations out there who already exist, who are doing great work in the world. If you get angry and you want to react, go support them. That's one of the things I did during the last administration. Whenever I got pissed off, which was on a regular basis, I would donate to my favorite project that was doing a lot of good in the world, because I used it as like a swear jar, you know. And in fact, after that person left office, the person's project got a hold of me and went, "We're really sad in some ways that other person is gone because you're not donating as much." I was like, "Oh, don't worry. The time will come where I use you as a swear jar again." These are great ways to use that reactivity, okay? Because with Mars and coming up with Jupiter, again, it's going to be really easy to be reactive. It just is. It's going to be so easy to be reactive. And so pick something proactive to do. Anyway, there's a lot coming up. On an individual level, again, I'm going to bring it back. Now I'm going to bring it back to you. I've talked about the collective. I've talked about contributing. And now I'm going to bring it back to you. That Mars-Jupiter conjunction is freaking awesome on an individual level because you can make opportunity for yourself, but you have to know what opportunities you want to make. And we're going to talk about that on Saturday in the Make Your Magic class, or not Make Your Magic, Make Your Luck. I already did Make Your Magic. We're doing Make Your Luck because Jupiter and Mars meet up about every 2 years, and they meet up in different signs, obviously. But it's always a time to make opportunity for yourself, okay? And because Mars is the planet of action, Jupiter is the great magnifying lens. It will magnify everything. Which is why it helps you see opportunity. And sometimes there's a whole lot of opportunity, and knowing how to feel into that and take aligned action is a skill. Okay, it's a skill. Some people, it may look like they're naturals, but more likely they come from a family with that kind of habitual behavior. And so they learned it, and it's just kind of intuitive, right? Other people have to learn it on their own. So we'll talk about that on Saturday at 6 o'clock. You can go to the link in my bio. I think the mods have got you on that one. What else is coming up? So Gemini, tomorrow's an interesting day. Early hours of the morning, the moon ingresses into Aquarius and the sun ingresses into Gemini. So the moon and the sun are going to be trine. That's a pretty cool day. They're air signs. It's going to be a heady day. It's going to be a chatty day. And I think we're going to see some people speaking up. I think we're going to see... because Aquarius rules the people, I think the internet's going to be a really busy place. We may see some announcements come out. We could see, it could be really, really interesting. Yeah. So, right. Well, I'm talking about the transit itself. So the moon ingresses into Aquarius tomorrow, and so then it trines with the sun. It should be very, very interesting. And then as it moves along, of course, it will conjunct Saturn. That won't be tomorrow. It won't be the next day. should be the morning after. It might be Saturday night. So don't quote me. I'll be writing horoscopes in just a little bit to go out to patrons. So as you know, or maybe as you don't, you might be new to me. And if you're new to me, hi and welcome. I write the horoscopes for my patrons where I give my thoughts on the moon. I give the mundane forecast, what I think we'll see in the headlines. And then I give the rising sign horoscopes. So that people can see, the more esoteric side, the more mindfulness side, the spiritual side, then the very earthy side, the mundane side, the politics, the weather, the gardening, all of that news, and then the individual energy, what you as an individual can do. So I give the 3 kind of major layers of energy that I like to call, we've got the what was I going to say? The unconscious or the instinctual energy, which is the mundane. We have the transactional, which is the social, cultural conditioning, which is our personal horoscope. And then we have the transcendent, which is superseding. It's more self-actualized. It's really not, transcendence isn't enlightenment unless you mean like lit up. Because enlightenment doesn't mean we're done with the planet. It just means we're awake, we're aware, and we take aligned action as much as possible. We're never going to be fully aligned. We're never going to be fully enlightened in this lifetime. It's an ongoing process. And in Buddhism, they liken it to the 10,000 petal lotus, where the lotus continues to open. And so too does our consciousness. You're never done until you're done. That's it. We're always growing and expanding and opening, and that's good, because have you ever met people who are like old at like 40, like that's it, and they just age from there, and they just keep getting older. I've got some people I went to high school with who are like that. They were old 10 years ago. And then you have people who are continually learning and growing and expanding, and they're a lot more youthful. So that's how we stay young, is that constant unfolding. Yes, we age, that's going to happen. But at the same time, that's how you stay youthful, is that unfolding. And so it's a constant process. That's why I'm teaching in the mystery school as we go along, and that should be open soon. I'm still working on stuff, guys. There's just a lot of behind the scenes stuff that has to be done. And I've got help. It's just, there's a lot of niggly, fiddly, stupidly little thingy bobs to take care of. Just driving my Sagittarian Mars nuts. But I also knew that I didn't really want to have it open during Mercury retrograde. Just especially since it's online, it's not in a physical building. So it's if there was going to be a tech problem, it's going to happen. So I have some people in their beta testing so that I know how things work, and then we move forward. But I do like the way it hosts the library, etc. Well, actually, even Maslow said you were never done. Self-actualization is a continual process. And when you look at his theory of transcendence, which was published after he died in 1971, he gave his observations of the people he studied that did not have their basic needs met. And so, and they still self-actualized, so you don't have to have all the money, all the emotions, all the relationships to self-actualize. You can self-actualize in extreme circumstances during adversity. In fact, people often do. And I know that was my route to it. So a lot of times it's through uncertainty, and it's through these times of crisis where we get the most growth. And I know it can be really tiring. I have yelled at God and the universe more than once in my life. Okay. I understand how soul weary it can be. I know it can be tiring, and it's really hard when you've had an abrupt awakening. But being awake is not, it's really not a big deal. It's what you do next that the big deal is. And there's a lot of people it's a lot of blind leading the blind right now. And I say that as a blind person, but there's a lot of people who are brand new brand spanking new awake, trying to pass on this wisdom and this knowledge that they think they've gleaned, when in reality, they still have a lot to learn. And you have to understand, you can't just walk around being like, I'm old, the wise one. The more you learn, the more you know you don't know. You know what you do know, and you know what you don't know. And we often don't know way more than we do know. And so it's really, really important to kind of check the hubris, okay? And remember, there are people who spread information because they're just content creators and they've chosen a niche. And that does not mean they've studied the matter, okay? They may have grabbed onto something and that's what they do, but it doesn't mean they actually have expertise in that field. Some do, and some do it really well. So yeah. But some of the most gifted readers, some of the most gifted energy workers, some of the most experienced, I've noticed, don't have big followings, So check the little accounts too. Just because somebody isn't famous doesn't mean they're not very, very talented. In fact, they may have a different kind of glamour protecting them, and they may be actually a real deal. Okay, I stayed very quiet for 20 years. I removed myself from the public eye as an energy worker, as an astrologer. I only showed the mundane face, and in fact, I would cloak myself to look, well, I'm never gonna not stand out, but I would stand out in different ways. But just be like, nothing to see here. These aren't the droids they're looking for. No. Because it wasn't time. As soon as it was time to come up, I did. And it was funny. I was meditating on this in 2020. I was sitting on the back porch and I was just meditating, thinking about the Pluto thing. And a thought popped into my head. And it was like, all you had to do was live to 2020. And I'm a very sarcastic person. So whether it's guides or God or the universe, doesn't matter. I will always clap back. And I was like, yeah, that would have been nice to know. That would have been nice to know. I was thinking back to my 20s and and I was like, that would have been really good to know, And then this little, almost like a laugh or a chuckle. It was just, and again, it's energy. It's just how I'm interpreting the energy, right? It's like blocks of energy that translate into thoughts. And it was almost like a chuckle. And I was like, you wouldn't have believed it. You wouldn't have believed it. And you know what? I wouldn't have believed it. I really wouldn't have. And so when we're transversing this life, you never know when you're going to be called up. And so I was literally like benched through 2018, 2019. And I could see all this brewing. I'd seen it for 20 years to come. And I was like, come on, let me at it. I got to get ready for 2020. And it was like, nope, you're benched. People have got to let this fall. And I was like, people are like, it was just really surreal to be like people don't see this coming. I'd been looking at it for 20 years. I'd warned people in my close circles. Some listened, some didn't. I got a lot of texts about it later, but it's very, very important to not just fall for the bells and the whistles. I happen to have, when I was younger, like a teenager, I was a classical performer. So I don't mind being in front of people. I prefer live audiences. It took me a long time to get good at video. And that happened in 2013 when I was forced to do it because I was like, I don't like being on camera. I'm a Scorpio rising. I'm like, I don't want to be on camera. I'll do a voiceover. I'm terrible. And so I learned to do it, so yeah. Oh, hey, CDN, I didn't see you. I'm blind as a bat. I adore you, babe. I adore you. You're doing great. Yes. Well, I'm training up my apprentices now. So I'm about to start the next batch. I got McDubbs, who's my first, and she's getting some TLC. Everybody will get TLC. Come on, I'm Astro Mama. But I've just got my first youngin' starting to do the chart. She's rocking it. Oh my God, she gave, I'm sitting back now. So she's reading and I'm sitting back just as a guide. And she has given some of the most eloquent interpretation. I'm very excited. Not just repeating what I've taught, of course there's that, but beautiful eloquence. Super excited about that. The next crop starts soon. Casey's one of those. Moo Cat's going to be another. We got Rita coming on. And I'm not sure about Shane. I got to ask Shane. Because, so, yes. She's not taking bookings on her own just yet. I'm going to let her drive that. I don't like throwing people into the deep end. I believe people need to start successfully. I think, and that's why we're taking this slow. She shadowed me, and now I'm sitting back for her to, tap in if she wants my input. And then when she's ready, she will do it. You guys, she's more than ready, but when she feels ready, and I might push her if I think she's dangling a little bit, but right now she's awful close though. She's been rocking it. So it takes a little bit of confidence to do it. I got thrown in at the deep end as a young astrologer, and I won't do that to mine. I will not throw people into the deep end. I want you to have a successful experience. Mackenzie's been with me for 1.5 years, so she's studied under me, and then I've had her shadow me for the last month. I knew she was ready. That's why I asked her to do it. So I had her shadow me through quite a few natal chart readings. Now she's only doing natal charts. So I'm training people in chunks. So I'm not having them do divinatory work or consulting work. I'm just having them do the natal charts right now. So, yeah. Right? Isn't she awesome? Hey, how you doing? Yeah. Everybody's chart is different, honey. I can't give any advice about finances or homes. I can't give advice in general without seeing a chart. That's unethical. That's why I do consultation readings. So that would be like an astro energies reading, because without a chart, I can't. For some people, this isn't a bad time. For other people, it's not a good time. It depends on your personal chart. So I cannot give any kind of advice like that, especially sight unseen. And if you look up like the astrologer's code of ethics, that's part of that. So yeah, I know there's people who would just straight up give advice on a live stream, but it's not ethical. Yeah. So right? You guys are great. You guys are doing great. I'm really proud of McDubs. She's a great student. So, great student. And she is rocking it. She's doing great. She's given some very, very eloquent interpretations. I'm very, very excited about that. And I look forward to the next group. And then see what'll happen is McDubs will be there to assist with the others, and then the next crop, everybody, we're going to grow it that way. And my goal is to have a whole bunch of really good astrologers out in the world, raising astrologers, baby astrologers that grow into big astrologers. That's my goal. So, because we need quality astrologers out there reading with ethics and professional, behaviors. It's important. So, and it just doesn't get taught too much anymore. So, yeah. Our little astrologer family. You betcha. Yeah. We're goofballs, too. We have a lot of fun. It's not always super serious. So, yeah. Hi, how are you? Yeah, I'm trying to get on more regularly. So, oh gosh, what time is it? Okay, we're doing good. I just know I have to write. I have to write tonight because I've got to get the moon in Aquarius forecasts up on Patreon. So, hey, how are you doing? Welcome. Just a quick reminder, I'm going to get this up on YouTube as well. Just because I think it's really important that people understand that the Mars in Aries is no joke this time around. Again, it's always exciting when Mars ingresses into Aries, but given the political climate, given everything going on, and how close it is to Jupiter, and the fact that the moon will be conjunct Mars, those are all signs that May 24th is going to be a big day. So I like to give heads up. I'm not trying to freak anybody out. I just want people to be aware so it's not a big shock, not a big surprise, and you can follow your instincts, so that's always really important. So oh, I love the parent-child readings. Honestly, those are my favorite readings. So I really specialized in those as a young astrologer because of my own interest in parenting. Because I had small children. Well, I had my daughter when I became an astrologer, and then I had a bun in the oven not long after, and that bun is now going to be 26. How crazy. This is crazy. But anyway, when I would study my children's charts, it made me grow as a person. I saw what my impact as a mother would be on my children, and I knew the impact of my parents on me. It also helped me make sense of those relationships as well. And I've done adult-child relationship readings. In fact, one of my favorite readings was between an adult child and her mother as they made some life decisions. It was a great reading. But I love reading for parents of either, young children or even teenagers. This is how you access this person. This is how you help them. If they're over 18, I like the young people to have permission or give permission for their charts to be read, over 16. But they don't have to be present. And in fact, it's probably with most times, I've had readings with teenagers and their parents, and the teenagers are usually not thrilled to be in the same room. It's not like they're not into the astrology. It's just they really don't want to be sitting there 9 times out of 10 with their parents. If it's a great relationship, then fine. But sometimes things are strained. I raised 2 kids. I get it. No judgment. But trying to make somebody be there in a reading, so that you can understand each other when the person isn't really open to communicating is not a good idea. So working with parents and to understand their children and their children's needs and their perceptions and why there's this energy exchange, why people feel the way they do. That's one of my favorite things to do. I love that. So, yeah, it's much more fun than romance readings. Yeah. One of the tarot readers, I can't remember her name. We're like big 3 twins. And she hates romance readings as much as I do. She'll be like, "Wah!" And I feel the same way because it's usually trying to manipulate somebody, And parent-child readings can be that way too. That's why I never suggest, unless you're really tight, having the young person in the room so you could go see, it's not a gotcha, So it's really important. It can be really, really healing as well. So yeah. I have an astrology guide on instinct and intuition, explaining the difference and how to find out what your abilities are by looking in your chart. And it's the Astro Guide Volume 2. And you can find that linked in my bio. So yeah, absolutely. That's my short answer. So yeah, it's a really, really good read. I need to teach a class on that as well, I think, because it's something that doesn't get taught much, and it's a really great thing. It's $5. It's yeah. The reason why, that's a really good question, Corinne. The reason why a lot of people don't like romance readings, I can be dead accurate, and people may not like my answer. Okay? Because 9 times out of 10, when people come for a reading, it's not because everything's going well. Sometimes that's the case. I've had a couple of those in the many years I've been reading. 9 times out of 10, it's somebody trying to get somebody to change a behavior or see them, or, you know, they treat it like some kind of like marriage counseling session, which, by the way, an astrologer is not a therapist unless they're a licensed therapist. But it's like in tarot readings too. It's like, is my ex coming back? Is my ex coming back? No, your ex isn't fucking coming back. And if they do, why would you take them back? They're an ex for a reason. Same in astrology. Same in astrology. It's this overemphasis of needing to be partnered to feel valuable, which is what we don't like. People who study energy, people who study divination, people who study spiritual topics or metaphysical topics understand that if you don't get right with you, it doesn't matter what else is going on. We can, in fact, I used to say this as a young astrologer. I'd be like, I can help you unlock the keys to the universe, and you want to know what Joey thinks about you? Are you kidding me? You know, and we have a term in professional astrologers. It's not bread and butter. It's called, when do I get paid? When do I get laid readings? And it's like, great. That, you know how boring that is? Like, I can cover that in 2 seconds, but it doesn't, you have so much power to unlock. Who cares what they think about you? What do you think about you? That's what matters. And that's why readers get frustrated, because we study so long, because there's so much depth to see your connection with the cosmos. And you want to know when you're going to get on the D train. Okay. You know? And so now, granted, disco sticks are fun. Right? Unless you're into tacos. But seriously, and you can use a lot of magic that way, but your value does not rely on someone else's thinking of you. You have inherent value, and understanding that raises your bar, and you end up with better relationships. That's why readers hate romance readings. Okay? Right, Casey? See, I was going to leave you out. Taco Tuesdays. Just saying. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. That can be one of the most healing readings, is if you've got your parents' birth time and place, and date, of course, and they've passed on. Yeah, absolutely. It can be a very healing. Business readings? Oh, those are my other favorite ones. Yes, because I'm a business coach as well. Yeah. I love business readings. I do business readings a lot. Astro energies or career life path. I also have a business coaching reading where we plan the marketing, we plan the timing, we plan the product development, we look at funding, all that kind of stuff. What the best routes are. I love that. Spirituality and business are my 2 passions, and bridging them together to me is essential, because the worst thing we ever did was kind of separate it out and say, oh, because what it did is it disenfranchised good people from the system, and it only left the unethical SOBs. And so bridging the 2 is important. And I'm not talking about like the 700 Club. I'm not talking about these fake pastors and their mega churches. I'm talking about decent people doing more than eking a living. That's what I'm talking about. Like, you have gifts, like you shouldn't be starving yourself and trying to serve in the world. You can't. You got to have enough to eat. You can't give the shirt off your back if you don't have an extra shirt. That's what I'm talking about. So that's why I like to help people with. So yeah, I love doing business readings. That's like the stuff of life. And I specialize just as a business coach of like information products. I'm not a big fan of consumer packaged goods. I work with those. They're not my favorite just because I worry about the impact of the planet. But yeah, so yeah. Yeah, exactly, Miss Scholar. Yeah. Pet readings? I can do a pet reading if you have the date, place, and time. Yeah. That's just a natal reading. You know? So Oh, you mean like a parent-child? I could do that. It's the same thing. You know, you just book a parent-child reading. I could do the synastry between a computer and you if you knew when the computer was made. It's synastry and everything. Yeah, you can do astrology for everything. Everything has an astrology chart. Right? Oh, big hugs, je suis Justine. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, my daughter's like that. Her dog is her baby. That is my grand dog. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes, that would be the career life path reading. I work with a lot of C-level executives. Mm-hmm. Yep. Owners, CEOs, CIOs, CMOs. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes, she is. She's a double Virgo. Mm-hmm. That's a really wide question, Becky. I can't answer a question that wide. That's a good one for coffee with Lori. But yeah, it just depends on the event. I do astrocartography and relocation astrology. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. Even as a little kid, she would go collect little pill bugs and name them as pets. She used to dress in princess dresses. She's grown now by a long ways, but she dressed in princess dresses and wear puddle boots and climb trees in her princess dress. It was sweet. So, similar doesn't mean the same. Every chart is unique. Right? Are these not cool? That's because on Sunday, I'm going to a studio party in LA and I'm decorating cookies with Amy Poehler. For real. For real. I'm going to decorate cookies with like Amy Poehler in the same room. So I had to get good nails. Right? Ah! Super cool. So remember I went to that comic book thing, guys? My friend that I did the comic book with, he's taking me to the party. I'm his plus one. So he always, during Emmy season, he always takes his friends to the different parties. And he was like, which one do you want to go to? I've got a Food Network one where Amy Poehler's there and decorating cookies. I'm like, okay. Yep. Decorating. You said cookie and Amy Poehler? Cookies and Amy Poehler? Yes. So I'm very excited. Yeah, I've never done anything like that before, so it's going to be super fun. So this will be like my one big social engagement of the year, because after this, my ass is at home. I will be wearing my mask. So, but I'm super excited. But yes, aren't these pretty? I thought the lady did very well. Very nice. I can't do this stuff on my own, so I'm always mystified by people who have good hand-eye coordination, because I do not. So, speaking of Virgo traits, you know. But yeah, she was like, I told her I wanted a certain design. She was like, no, we will do it this way. And I was like, okay. She was like, no, this way. I'm like, however you want to do it, I will pay you. So she was like, yeah, your finger's too small for the other. And I'm like, oh, no need to explain. I trust your expertise. So, yeah, I'm like, I don't have the eyeballs for that. I'm like, I don't know, just do it black and white. I just wanted it like diagonal. She's like, no, we'll do it. I'm like, okay. Alrighty then. I trust the esthetician and the nail lady. I'm just like, nope. And then I just made my toes white. You know, just did a white polish on my toes. So, because, you know, it's Amy Poehler. I am going to try to be not awkward, but I cannot guarantee that will happen. I may end up being incredibly awkward. We'll see what happens. If I get nervous, I'm kind of like Inspector Clouseau, and I will, that Sag Mars is all over the place, so we'll see what happens. Oh, although, oh God, that would, it's the moon, no. Interesting. I don't know where the moon will be quite when I'm going. It's in Aquarius, obviously, so it's in my 3rd house. But it should be cool. Well, I'll certainly provide some entertainment without trying. Hopefully I'll just play it cool and be like, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. Yeah, that's me. Yeah. See me on TikTok? Yeah. So, so yeah. Right. Oh, that would be cool. Be like, hey, you want to teach comedy? You want to be in a mystery school? And she'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, you never know. So, although I love going to things, like I do go to networking, and I've been to I just haven't been to like a studio party before, but I've been to swanky things, and they'll be like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm an astrologer. And they're like, oh, but in LA you get, oh, can you do my chart? And I'm like, you can look at my website and book one. But yeah, at least in LA you don't get them. So yeah, right? Oh, of course I'll say I'm an astrologer. I mean, in Southern California, it doesn't matter. You know, when I lived in Washington State, it was just better to be a business coach. It would be like, business coach. Because they'd be like, you what? But yeah. I've read a lot. I've read multiple sets of twins. It's always fascinating. Depends on the time between. It depends. Sometimes what happens, and I had a set of twins that were a minute apart, and it was like they sat in the room together. It was just really interesting because I'd say, like, I had one person's chart, just the one, because I'd read the others a different time, and I was doing a transit reading, and I'd say, so you're either doing this or you're doing this right now. And one of them would be like, oh, or the one I was doing the reading for was like, no, I'm not doing that. But the sister would be like, I am. And I was like, it was almost like stereo sound, you know, where the energy moves back and forth, or the sound moves back and forth on the headphones. So like one would be experiencing one part of the transit, the other would be experiencing the other side of that. It was really cool. That was just like a couple months ago. And that was the only set of twins I've had that were like a minute apart, because it was a scheduled C-section. I've had other twins where it was like 15 minutes apart, and totally different personalities, different ascendants. I've had twins who had different moon signs, because again, the moon changes signs pretty rapidly. And so if one of them was born at the end of a sign, the other one was born at the beginning, that kind of thing. You can even have people born as the sun is ingressing into another sign. So like if a baby is born to, you know, in their like early hours of tomorrow, like a set of twins, you could have one born who is a Taurus and another who's a Gemini. So, you know, it just depends on the timing. So every chart's different. Every experience is different. It's why I don't get sick of astrology, is it's always different. There's nothing ever, like there's rules and there's themes, but every reading is unique because every person is unique. Yeah, you know, you're just trained to believe you're not special. You know, you're trained to believe you're not unique, you're not special, but you are. You know, my gosh, that's the thing I love about astrology, is I get to see the richness and the vast depth of humanity. each person is so precious and expresses energy in their own ways, and it never gets old and it never gets boring. You guys are amazing. You have no idea how amazing you are. And I never get bored of it. I never get bored of astrology, and I get bored of subjects. I used to study things like 5 years at a time. I'm studied in a lot of different things, but astrology never ends, because each person expresses the energy in their own unique way. And it's just super cool to witness that. Yes, first breath is traditional. Absolutely. Everybody, honestly, you can't be an astrologer and not consider first breath the start of life. I know of no school of astrology that thinks of it differently. And it has been that way since astrology was invented. Even though I am a modern astrologer, okay, and I use modern interpretations, I use classical and traditional techniques. And there are certain rules. It begins at the first breath, because otherwise you're not living. If you're not breathing, you're not living. Even like people who are brain dead have heartbeats. That doesn't mean you're living. If you have to be assisted on breathing, and your brain doesn't have activity, you're technically not really alive. So, yeah. I don't have any discounts right now, hun. There will be some soon. But yeah. But I don't have any right now. So, cuz yeah. I do teach classes, and I have information linked up in my bio, but I don't have any discounts right now except for patrons. So, but thank you for asking. Keep in touch, because I will have one coming soon. Soon. I will be doing a promotion, but not right yet. So, yeah. Right, Malcolm? He's under the chair. I don't know why, but lately he's taken to laying under the chair. He didn't ever used to do that, but now under the chair is his favorite space when I'm doing the live streams. So, yeah. My eyes are tired. That's how they're doing. But they're doing as well as they're going to do. So. Right? He's grooming. I know. Right. Well, that's again why I have the Patreon and why I do all the teaching, is it helps make it more accessible. And again, I give patrons the discounts first, and then I do promotions in public. So hold tight. So yes, and it is nice to have a professional astrologer do it, isn't it? But yeah, you can always reach out through my contact page as well on my website. Not this Sunday, Ben. It's the last Sunday. The last Sunday of May. Not this Sunday. Not this Sunday. Nope. Last Sunday of the month. Yeah. Next. Yeah. Last Sunday of the month. Yeah. I'm gonna be in LA at a television studio party this Sunday. That's why I got my nails done, because I'm gonna decorate cookies at a party where Amy Poehler is decorating cookies. I'm very excited. I'm gonna try not to look like an idiot, but I can get no guarantees. When I get nervous, I just knock things over. No, actually, it should be fun, and I'm not nervous to go at all, but I am excited. It's going to be fun. It did go by fast, right? No, Mars is not property and real estate. Venus is. I don't know who said Mars is property and real estate, but that's not true. Mars is not. Venus is property and real estate. Anything to do with finances, security, real estate, inheritance, love, which is security. So acceptance, food, that's all Venus. Mars is not any of those things. You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Thank you to my moderators. They are amazing. They always help things. I'm going to end this now and go take a break and then write horoscopes. I want to thank all of you for being here, and I'll get this up on YouTube because I want people to know there's some energy that we got to keep our eyes out for. I'll talk about more about what's coming up this summer in the next episode of the podcast as well. All right. Love you. Bye. Kirsten.